Hello, Breasties. You are in for a wild ride today. My name is Carla Marie. This is my breast explant journey. My boobs are being evicted on May 23rd, 2024, after 10 and a half years. This is a mini-series podcast about my journey. If you haven't listened to the other 5 episodes, I highly recommend going back and checking them out. The first episode is where I really explain why I'm doing this, the symptoms I'm feeling with breast implant illness, and a lot of other information. So check that out. And I do plan on having episodes post-explant. Just wanted to give everyone a heads up on that. It's going to be about my recovery process. I will also have guests on, but that first episode will probably be just me talking about what it's like coming out of surgery, because at that point, I'll only be a few days removed. So just want to give you a heads up on where we're at with the episodes. But I am so excited for this week's guest. I couldn't wait to talk to her. Her name is Robyn Towt. She is a 3-time cancer survivor who has gotten a law passed in the state of Arizona to make sure doctors are properly informing people who are getting implants. Robyn is incredible. She's a former teacher, so she is laying down some lessons in today's episode. She is such an incredible voice when it comes to the world of breast implant illness, specifically for cancer survivors as well, because as we've learned, breast implants often get put inside of mastectomy patients, and it's not always the best. So Robyn is going to tell her story. She does mention a lot of different links within the episode. They're all below in the description of this podcast. You can also go to themorningshowpodcast.com. I put a blog post up there for each of these episodes from my breast explant journey, so you can check that out. Thank you so much for being here week after week, but now you get to meet Robyn Towt.
This is Carla Marie's breast explant journey.
Okay, first of all, hi, Robyn. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So my first guest of this podcast was Dee Hicks. And after Dee and I recorded, she had said to me, you need to have my friend Robyn on. I think she'd be a great guest. And I was like, yeah. Well, I'll, when it comes time for having a new guest that I need, I'll let you know. And then separate of that, I'm on Instagram and I'm scrolling and I see my own video on another breast implant illness page. And I'm looking around, I'm like, oh, this person's name is Robyn. Wait a minute. So we accidentally got connected, and here we are today, and you're a guest, and I'm very excited for you to tell your story. Let's go back to, I guess, when you found out you had breast cancer. I mean, is that a good spot for you to start with your story? Okay.
Yep, that's the perfect spot. I never even considered ever in my life getting breast implants because I naturally had very large breasts since I was 14 years old. So wasn't even on my radar.
Right.
And then in 2017, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And, it was a super busy time of my life. I was finishing raising my 2 teenage boys and, trying to get them out of the nest. And I just really didn't have time for cancer at that point. It was my 3rd cancer diagnosis.
Jeez.
So I was kind of like, been there, done that. Let's just get this over with. So I opted to have a double mastectomy. And my surgeons convinced me to do reconstruction with breast implants.
Now, when you say convinced, were you thinking like, I'll just take them out, I don't need them anymore?
I was just like, let's just get these off so I can go on with my life, right? I didn't care at that point, and I kind of felt like I was living on borrowed time anyway. But they made it sound easy. It was kind of like, this is what you do. You have a mastectomy, and then you have reconstruction, and breast implants are super easy. They're safe. They're FDA
Everyone
approved.
does it.
Yeah. So I did it, and I actually first had what they call tissue expanders, which is kind of a temporary implant that they put.
Can you explain that a bit? Because I see a lot of women talking about it. That's not in my wheelhouse at all. And it seems like it's something that's only done for mastectomy patients?
Typically, yes.
Okay.
So they do that with mastectomy patients so that they make sure that you're healing properly from the mastectomy. And then they slowly fill the tissue expanders, which is basically a temporary breast implant that they stitch to your chest wall. It's very painful.
It sounds it.
It's excruciating. And I'm a pretty tough girl, but it was really painful for me. And then they fill them every week or 2 with saline until you get to the size that you're okay with. And then they let that heal for a little bit. Then they switch you out to your breast implants. So I did all that, and the whole process was an absolute nightmare for me. You know, I wasn't interested in reconstruction, but it was just kind of the narrative that is pushed on breast cancer patients. It's not really, do you want reconstruction? It's what type of reconstruction do you want? They also make it seem easy. And I feel like they prey on breast cancer patients' insecurities at their most vulnerable time. You know,
sorry to cut you off, but insurance companies just give you the implants as the patient, right? Like there's no cost to you, but obviously the doctor, I'm assuming, is making money off of this.
Lots of money. Yes. So if you have insurance, once your deductible is met, all these surgeries are just free.
Which if you have cancer, I'm assuming that deductible gets met very quickly.
Very quickly. Yes. So the surgeons, you know, if they're doing reconstruction on a patient with implants, they're guaranteed at least probably 5 more surgeries on their surgical schedule over the course of time. And that's just if everything goes well. You know,
that's true.
You might have a revision, you might have to get them replaced, you might have a rupture. So if everything goes well, they're guaranteed at least 5 to 10 more surgeries. And my whole process was just a nightmare. I had complications from the very beginning. I went back to my plastic surgeon 4 different times.
Oh my God.
At one point, I was ready to just quit. And, you know, she convinced me, just stick it out. You're almost done. You'll get the implants after the expanders and you'll be so much more comfortable. And when I got the implants after the expanders, which was 3 months later after my mastectomy, it was even worse. And I knew from the moment I woke up from getting those implants that something wasn't right.
That's crazy. And just to go back to the cancer diagnosis, did you have chemo or anything, or you just went straight to mastectomy?
I went straight to mastectomy, and they wanted me to do chemo. And I said no. They wanted me to do the hormone blockers, and I said no. And I've already had a lot of radiation from a previous cancer.
Okay.
So I'm not a candidate for radiation treatment. So literally the only thing I did for breast cancer was surgery. And I felt great when I had breast cancer. I felt like I do right now.
That's
I was
nuts.
I was walking 5 to 7 miles a day. I could jump on my bike and go 10 miles easy, keeping up with 2 teenage boys and their basketball schedules. I was living my best life.
So your mastectomy was basically like, just get it out. I don't want to deal with it. I don't care about, I don't care, but you didn't care about having boobs or what it looked like. It was just the doctors that kind of push you into that direction to do the.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you wake up from surgery, you have implants. What size did you get?
That was the biggest problem. I had the entire time I had multiple visits with my doctor, told her that I wanted to be smaller. I was very large breasted. I was double D naturally my whole life.
Wow.
So the silver lining for me in having breast cancer was I get cute small boobs, right? That I've always wanted, that all the other girls had. And I woke up with double Ds.
Oh my.
And I was horrified and angry. And, you know, I read up on the surgery. I knew that there's swelling. I knew that they're up very high when you first get, but I looked down in the recovery room and I'm like, this is double what I asked for. And I was just livid. So my husband picks me up and I'm in the car going through the paperwork and I see that she put 500 cc's.
What?
In each side. And I'm not a big girl. I'm only 5'4". So, and I asked for, my specific words were a full A cup or a small sporty B cup.
Okay, and just for reference, people know why I'm reacting like this, because I think I said this in my very first episode. My size, I have 375 in one breast and 425 in the other. So each implant that I have was still smaller. And you said you wanted to be an A cup or a B cup.
Yeah.
What in the actual? Okay, so you're pissed off. You see this.
Yeah, I felt very violated that my surgeon did not respect my wishes. And when I went to my post-op appointment, I was very sassy with her. I asked her why she did this to me. And her response was, I think they look good on your frame.
Well, I'm sorry, but you're not living in this body, lady. Like,
right? Yeah. And she said, I think once the swelling goes down and they settle, that you'll be very happy. And I looked at her and I said, these are not staying in my body. I want them out. I want the small implants that I asked for. And that day I booked my next surgery.
You did not.
Yeah. I was like, these are not staying in my body.
Then you went through with the other surgery?
No.
Okay.
So that was in August of 2017. And I literally, my health tanked. I mean, it completely, I was degraded to a shell of a human being in just a few short months. And it started that very same week. I had headaches, migraines. I started having heart palpitations. My hair was falling out. My eyelashes were falling out. I had skin rashes on my chest, on my legs. I had joint pain. I had fatigue. For 15 to 20 years, I could walk 5 miles easily, and I couldn't walk to my mailbox.
And to be clear, you had cancer before you even got diagnosed with the breast cancer.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So you had this disease in your body and you were still living a better life than the implants.
Absolutely. That was the worst I have felt in my entire life. Through my 20s, 30s, 40s, 3 cancer diagnoses, having breast implant illness was the absolute worst thing I've ever been through.
This might be the most insane I've heard so far.
It was actually crazy. And I couldn't understand what was wrong with me. So I kept going back to my surgeon, and her answers for me, the first time I went back to her, I was having a lot of pain. My neck and shoulder were excruciating pain. So she sent me to physical therapy. That was the first visit. The second visit, I had a rash on my chest and on my legs. And I had a friend that had come over my house. We used to teach together. So she was on summer break, and she came over because she wanted to hang out by my pool. And I didn't go in the pool because I had just had surgery, a few weeks before. I sat in the shade on my patio with the ceiling fans on, drinking water, had a fan on me. And I go inside, and all of a sudden I break out in this utter, completely horrifying rash for the next few days. So I make an appointment. I'm like, I don't know what's wrong. I have this rash all over me. Her solution was, don't go outside.
You live in Arizona also, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
we have like the best weather in the country. I like go walking and golfing and hiking and biking and boating and swimming. And she tells me not to go outside.
And I know a lot of women talk about having a heat aversion when they get their implants. So sun or not, if they're in heat, they can't, their body just is like, nope, shutting down, can't deal with it.
Yeah. And I had no idea at the time that was probably, I do believe that contributed to how sick I got so quickly. So then I went back. I was having extreme pain in my chest. I was having burning pain. I was having pain in my joints and my muscles. So she gave me pain pills.
Of
She
course.
gave me muscle relaxers. She gave me gabapentin. So her solutions, never once did she say, gosh, Robyn, you might be reacting to your implants. There's this thing called breast implant illness. Maybe your body's rejecting them. Not once. I had an entire team of doctors for my breast cancer. I went to a double board certified plastic surgeon who's one of the best in the Valley at one of the best cancer centers, and nobody told me.
This is infuriating.
Yeah. So again, I'm super sick. I can't figure out what's wrong with me. She's not giving me any indication of anything else. So then I start thinking maybe my cancer is back.
Oh
maybe
God.
my cancer is just.
Yeah, obviously you would think that.
Yeah, because my symptoms were head to toe. I was having migraines and headaches. I'm like, oh gosh, the cancer spread to my brain. Now it's stage 4. It's going to be in my brain, in my skull. I'm going to die, right? Because I felt like I was dying. And I started joining some breast cancer support groups and was networking with other women in these groups. And I was asking questions. And some of these women were having a lot of the same symptoms that I was, but they were blaming it on chemo and radiation.
Well, of course, that's where your brain's going to go. And just those support groups, where were they in person? Were they online? Like,
they were online.
Okay.
I had never been on social media before because it's just not my thing. So,
and here you are now.
Yeah, it was basically a website, and it was a chat forum on a website, and it was worldwide. There were hundreds of thousands of women, and I just couldn't figure it out until one woman who actually lives right here in my state, in my town, reached out to me and said, check into your breast implants. Mine made me sick for 12 years. And I was like, sick? What do you mean sick? And she sent me back her list of symptoms, and I could literally check almost every single one.
It's like, okay, so what in that moment are you like, get these things out of me? What happens next?
Yeah. So I met her for lunch one day. She, tells me her whole story. Ironically, she worked for a plastic surgeon. She had had 3 sets of implants over 12 years and just kept getting sicker and sicker with each set. And, after I met with her in person, she looked amazing. And I thought, you know what? I can do this. It's got to be the implants. It's the only thing I can think of. So she told me about these Facebook groups, the support groups online, and she was showing me posts of these women who all had the same symptoms that we did. And then I knew right then, I'm like, this has to be it.
What year was this at this point? Was it still 2017 or 2018?
Yep, 2017.
Jeez.
So I decided I'm not getting those smaller implants like I thought I was. I'm getting these things taken out, and I am done. I am done being lied to. I'm done being sick. And so I didn't end up going back to my same plastic surgeon. I went to a different surgeon who that girl went to and worked for. And I ended up having my implants removed, and I just stayed completely flat.
Wow. So you had them removed how long after getting them in?
4 months.
And that's crazy because your body's still healing from that first surgery.
Yeah.
Okay. You wake up from having them removed, then what?
I knew instantly, because the first thing I remembered when I woke up is I can breathe again. I could breathe. The whole entire time I had expanders and implants, I could not get a good breath. I could not take a deep breath. I felt like I was breathing through a straw. And that's why I think, part of the reason why I couldn't exercise, because I was so short of breath. I mean, just taking a shower or walking from my bedroom to the family room, I was out of breath. It was crazy. And that was the first thing I noticed when I woke up is I could breathe. I could take a good breath. I could take a deep breath. And I just had major surgery.
Yeah.
And I felt great.
So
it's like a veil was lifted, and I didn't feel sick. I didn't feel tired. And I just, I was still having anesthesia in me and whatnot.
What?
I felt amazing.
Because you did mention some of your symptoms, right? Are there any that we've missed so far? I just want to kind of rattle them all off for anyone listening that I may be able to say, oh, wait, I don't have any of these, but I have that one. It could be that one.
Yeah. I mean, and I never had them before implants, but it started with the headaches, migraines, heart palpitations, skin rashes, hair loss. I lost about half of my eyelashes, joint pain, muscle pain, anxiety, insomnia, like panic attacks. I'd never had a panic attack in my whole entire life. And I would just get this overwhelming sheer just fear of nothing. I was literally laying on my couch watching Netflix, and I had this overwhelming sense of fear and doom. And it was bizarre. It was bizarre what my body went through.
And what's crazy, and I want to keep reiterating, you felt none of that when you had any of your other cancers or any cancer, period. It was just during your time of having the implants in your body. That's completely insane.
And I've had none of it since, and it's been 7 years.
Wow. Okay. So you start feeling great. What is that recovery process like? Where's your mindset? All of it.
The recovery was super easy for me. I was in more pain with having implants in than I was after Explant. And it was mind blowing to me how good I felt, how normal I felt, back to myself, which I was happy about, but I was also really angry. I was angry that my doctor didn't tell me. I was angry that I wasn't told, that this information wasn't shared with me, that this could happen. And, I started advocating in the breast cancer space, and those ladies didn't want to hear it, because back in 2017, the FDA wasn't even admitting any of this.
So, because it was 2018, right, when the FDA started
acknowledging. Dee and I met in person in 2018 at our first FDA meeting.
You said the women in the breast cancer groups weren't hearing. What was that pushback like from them?
I was crazy, and I was fear-mongering everybody because of my experience. And I'm over here thinking, gosh, I wish anybody would have told me, because I would have made a different choice.
I'm sure for a lot of them, it's like, I don't even want to think about that because I love my body, right? Maybe a lot of them are like, I've been through hell and back when it comes to my boobs. I'm not even thinking about it now. There is a lot of denial, because that's a whole nother process that women have to go through.
It really is. And for breast cancer patients, I think what a lot of people don't understand is it is traumatizing, right? You're literally having your breast amputated. And a lot of women, of course, there was no love lost there for me because I didn't like mine anyway. But a lot of women, they feel feminine because of their breasts, or they feel like a woman. But the plastic surgery industry is very predatory, and they prey on those insecurities with breast cancer women. And they tell you, you won't be happy. You will be depressed. You won't feel like a woman. You won't feel beautiful. You won't feel normal. And we're going to give you all that back. by doing this reconstruction, by giving you these breast implants, and we're going to make you whole again. I never felt more broken in my life than when I had those implants.
It is wild that they do prey on that, and that we've kind of put so much weight into boobs and making them who we are, when really it's just a bunch of tissue on our body. It's not, it's not as important. It is, but it isn't. Like, we've created it. We've made it so much more than it actually is. And then here you are saying, I have none anymore and I feel great and I'm happy. You very clearly feel like a woman, I'm assuming.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what came first? Because you co-founded Global Patient Advocacy Coalition, but you also spoke at FDA meetings and hearings. So what came first?
Yes. So since I wasn't on social media, I really wasn't involved in the groups yet. And I knew about them, but I was really getting all my secondhand information from Michelle, who saved my life. And she actually reached out to me and said, there's a group of women going to the FDA in Washington, D.C., and they need one more. They want a breast cancer patient.
Wow.
And I was like, where do I sign up? So I reached out to the girl that was in charge of setting it up and went to my first FDA meeting in September of 2018. And there were about 20 of us that shared our testimony, and a lot of them were BII women. There was me, who was a breast cancer survivor, and there were 5 women who actually had a breast augmentation, and one even had breast cancer, but developed another cancer from their breast implants.
And that would be, is that BIACL? I want to make sure I'm getting it
Yeah,
right.
ALCL.
ALCL. Yep. Okay.
So at the time, that was the only cancer that the FDA was really talking about. They started talking about it in 2011. It was swept under the rug by the plastic surgeon community. Not just swept under the rug, they actually started an educational campaign in 2011. And both the American Society of Plastic Surgery and the Aesthetic Society held a joint webinar. And it's kind of like these, webinars or conferences where they do educational presentations. And they were telling those members, the society members, not to call it cancer. Don't call it a malignancy. Don't tell the women that they have cancer. Just tell them they have a condition.
What?
And we're going to take care of it. Yeah.
That sounds illegal.
Yeah, it's super shady. In fact, the FDA found out about it because there was a whistleblower that went to the FDA and told them,
Good.
I was at the webinar, this is what was being said. And to be clear, the FDA regulates medical devices and medical device manufacturers. They don't have anything to do with doctors, physicians, surgeons, but they went to these 2 societies and said, take that webinar down. It's misinformation.
Good.
And so they did. But the plastic surgeon societies have been continuing to downplay and dismiss this for the last 40 years. There are now numerous cancers that the FDA has announced are associated with breast implants. And the plastic surgeon community and the FDA have known about these cancers since the early 1990s.
That is wild, because this was never brought up to me in 2013, and obviously not even you in 2017.
Exactly. And that's shameful, because they are literally stripping away our rights to have proper informed consent and our right to make an educated and informed decision.
And our right to live a quality life also.
Exactly.
Or high quality life. So at these FDA hearings, because Dee did talk about them a bit, and I'm assuming these were you guys met, you were both at the hearings. What came out of those hearings?
So we do have some wins. We shared our stories, and we did feel like we were being heard. I think everyone kind of had egg on their face and realized these women aren't going to shut up. Mm-hmm. And there's hundreds of thousands of women on Facebook groups that are screaming about this. We've been gaslighting them for 30 years. It's worked for 30 years, but now social media kind of blew it all wide open.
This is the good side of social media, when we have a voice and we can connect with other people outside of, our regular groups.
So since those meetings, it's kind of been the FDA and the plastic surgeon community doing damage control. And it was, we had suggested, multiple women that gave testimonies in those meetings said that all textured implants should be banned because they're the ones with the highest rates of cancer. Right. But all breast implants are known and associated with multiple cancers, whether it's silicone, saline, smooth, textured. Doesn't discriminate, mm-hmm. right? So we did suggest banning all textured implants. The FDA said no, and then 6 months later, they did ban the Allergan
That's right.
BioCell implants.
Which implants did you have, if you don't mind talking about
I
it?
had Mentor Smooth Silicone.
I have Mentor Smooth Round. I don't know, but still, I have the gummy bear.
Okay, that's what I had.
Oh, great.
Yep.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Yay.
So we have made some progress. We have gotten the FDA to admit that breast implants do make women sick. Breast implants are associated with multiple cancers. But they're not doing enough. Women are still not getting proper informed consent. So much so that I took it upon myself to pass a state law in Arizona where I live, because it should be illegal to not give patients this information. And so in Arizona, surgeons are now mandated to give patients this information. And if they don't, they could have their medical license suspended or revoked.
What was that process like, getting a law passed? How long did that take? What was that? I'm assuming we need a whole other episode to really talk about it, but the watered down version of it.
Yeah, it was insane. I've never done it before, ever in my life. I've never been interested in politics or legislation, but I just saw a need. I was upset that this happened to me. I knew it had to be happening to other patients, and I just didn't want it to happen to anybody else. So I really just set up some meetings with some local senators, had several meetings at the state capitol. They decided, yes, this is a need that we need to do. And, the process was grueling. Writing the actual language of a bill is such a daunting process, but it was a great learning experience. I'm a teacher and I love to learn. So it was kind of cool to do that. COVID came right in the middle of it. So that kind of threw a wrench in our plans. And we actually ended up getting it signed into law about a year later than planned. But we got it and it was great. And I'm super proud of that. So I decided, there were women that were reaching out to me after they heard about it saying, I want to do this in my state. I want to pass a law.
Yeah.
I'm like, great, I'll help you. So I basically packaged up my Arizona state law and I'm like, who wants to do it in their state? I'll help you. And
I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it for Washington.
We actually did do it in Washington.
Good. I don't have to do it. I'll help my New Jersey friends.
Well, we were in New Jersey too.
Okay. My work here is done. Thank you.
It's not though, because here's what happened.
Oh, no.
When the plastic surgeons realized that I succeeded in getting this law passed, they've now sent out the troops to shut it down in every single state I'm working in.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Okay, well, so whatever we need to do to keep screaming about it.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
We'll have a whole nother, have a discussion. You and I can meet on that, but yeah, it's really disheartening. It's sad to me that they don't want patients to have this information. And I mean, I get it. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And it means big money for them. And if they tell patients the truth, patients probably won't want to get implants. Some women will still get implants. Of course. Absolutely. They're like, this is what I want. I wanted it since I was a little girl. I want big boobs.
I get
and
it.
They're going to get it. But at least they know. At least they know.
So that when you do get sick, you're not going through years of trying to figure out what it is. And that's the boat that I'm in. Like sometimes when I hear these stories, like yours or really anyone's, I'm like, damn, that didn't happen to me, because immediately I was like, all right, I'm over it. Get it out. It's probably this, because so many women spoke about it before me and I just happened to be in the right groups or whatever it may be. And I didn't have to do all this guessing game of going to the doctor and all of this. And I just decided I'm going to get them out. And I'm lucky to have doctors in this world now that only do explants and understand it. Like I don't have to fight for anything. And it's because of people like you, but we need to keep doing that so other women can be in the same boat.
I totally agree. And I'm so happy that women are finding out sooner. And so their chances of recovering their health completely are so much better than the early days, when these women were literally struggling for 10, 15, 20 years, bouncing from doctor to doctor, trying to chase a diagnosis.
Yeah.
So I'm super happy that you found that information. And, but it is so important to go to a surgeon who understands the importance of removing that scar capsule. So our body forms that scar capsule around the implant. And there's a group of plastic surgeons who have positioned themselves as leaders in the industry. And they even put out a study that says, oh, it's not really necessary to remove capsules. But I want to be 100% clear. The cancers that are caused by breast implants develop in those capsules. And these surgeons are recklessly suggesting to not remove those capsules from the body.
And what are they gaining by doing that?
One never really knows unless you're actually in their head, which I don't want to be. But my suspicion is the more capsules you remove, women will want them tested. We'll find more cases.
Okay, yeah.
and that will look bad for implants.
Well, that's messed up. So I'm shocked and not shocked by really anything that you're saying anymore. I want to talk a little bit more about the law that you passed, though. So what happens then in Arizona if I go to a plastic surgeon and I'm like, hey, I want breast implants? Where does your law come into play in that process of going to the doctor?
So our law makes surgeons give them the patient information booklet that I never got, and about 86 to 90% of patients have never received.
Right.
So first they have to give the patient information from the manufacturer of that implant. And then we developed a patient decision checklist that outlines all the risks in layman's terms that are easily understood. And they have to give that patient checklist. The patient and the doctor both have to sign off on that checklist to say that they understand, that the patient had a chance to ask questions or get clarification. And, we thought it was really important because I went back and looked at my consent forms, and I did initial some things that I really didn't understand fully.
Right.
And informed consent is a conversation. It's not just a piece of paper, right? And how many times, I'm guilty of this myself, how many times do we sign up for a new app or a new social media platform and it says, I understand the terms and conditions? Nobody reads that stuff, right? We just sign it because we want to be on Twitter or we want to be on Instagram. And so, by outlining the very symptoms that can be caused by some of these diseases, I did sign off on saying I knew about CTDs. I didn't know what CTDs, connective tissue disorders, are caused by breast implants. And then what are connective tissue disorders? And then you start looking at the symptoms: joint pain, tendon pain, weakness upon exercising. I'm like, my gosh, that's everything I had, right?
But they're kind of just like hiding it behind. So when you say informed consent, like that you're actually telling people what this means.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so, that made me feel good that my journey was already over, but I could prevent this from happening to someone else. And those women that come after me will be informed.
Do you know any stories of women that have gone to plastic surgeons and have been like, oh, never mind, I'm not doing this anymore after getting all of that information?
I do.
Cool.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's working.
And hey, but that's part of the informed consent process. And, we need this for other things too, like these fillers that everyone's doing, lip fillers, Botox, all these cosmetic procedures. They make it sound easy, like getting a pedicure, getting a manicure, getting your hair done, getting a boob job, getting Botox. And then we have people that are paralyzed for life on one side of their face because they had no idea Botox has a black box warning. Other medical devices like mesh. I mean, I have some really sick patients that were not told mesh was even being put in their body for a hernia surgery or even a breast surgery. That's a whole nother podcast, because now that nobody's really using textured implants anymore, those same surgeons that are doing those webinars and downplaying these risks, they're now using smooth implants and wrapping them in a sheet of mesh.
What is the point of that, though?
Because the textured implants were very easy for the surgeons to use because they stayed in place.
Okay.
And they didn't get women that would, after 5 or 10 years, get the implant just sagging in a bag of skin. So you get a textured implant or a piece of mesh and it sticks. Yep, like Velcro. Think of Velcro adhering to your chest wall. Here's the fun fact that most people don't know. Alloderm, mesh, any kind of acellular dermal matrix that your surgeon might talk about, Galaflex and all these different mesh products, are not approved by the FDA to use in breast surgeries, and they're all doing it.
Well, that's also seems illegal. What is happening?
It's called off-label use. And basically, doctors, physicians, surgeons are allowed to use medications, medical devices for not the intended purposes that they were marketed and intended for. It's basically using us as guinea pigs. We think this might work, so we're going to put it in this breast cancer patient and see how it goes. But it's not approved by the FDA.
I don't even know what to say. Okay, so that's frightening. So then what can a breast cancer patient do when they're going through this process? Can they be like, hey, don't use mesh in me? Like, what do they do?
That's part of the informed consent process. Okay. I mean, we hope that a breast reconstructive surgeon will tell the patient everything, show them an example of the product, like the tissue expanders. I wish I saw one just sitting on the desk like you do when you go for a breast aug and you see the implant sitting on the table. It's like, I should have been able to touch it, feel it, and her explain to me
it's going in your body.
Yeah, and how they attach it to the body. So all of these things should be discussed, at length. And at the end of the day, surgeons don't have time to have a 2-hour consultation with patients. And that's a shame because we're not getting the information that we need. And unfortunately, now the onus is on the patient to ask questions, do the research, join support groups, learn from other patients. I would never tell somebody, go get all your medical advice from social media groups.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, I've gotten way more information and the truth from patients who have been through it, experienced it, and learned from their experience than I have from any doctor that's ever told me anything.
I know every time I bring up the Breast Implant Illness Facebook group, I'm like, I know it sounds crazy, but there really is so much information in there. And no one's saying, like, it's not like I'm going to take these out myself. I still have to go to a doctor and ask the doctor these questions. It's just giving us so much more knowledge. Like you said, you're not going to get that at a consult. So you can go to a doctor and ask questions, but where else are we getting this information if not for these forums anymore? So that were created by patients, not doctors. So that's the important thing. Let's talk about GPAC. So Global Patient Advocacy Coalition. Did I get it right?
Yes,
okay.
You got it right.
It's a lot of words. So GPAC, that's what we're going to stick with for now. So you co-founded this. What is it? What does it do?
So my partner, Terry Diaz, and I, we met also at the same FDA meetings that Dee and I met at. And we formed GPAC because we had started connecting with women all over the world that had the same exact stories that we did. And we thought, this isn't just in the United States. This isn't just, the American Society of Plastic Surgeons problem. This is a global women's health crisis. And so we wanted to partner with women and patients all over the world so that we could help them do what we're doing here, getting a meeting with your, regulatory agency in your country or your region, passing state laws or laws, in your federal government. And we wanted to just help and network with them so that we can all just basically bring this to global awareness levels. So we've been really successful at doing that. We're constantly updating our website with information, scientific studies, all sorts of support groups and places where people can go for resources. And, we've also connected with other medical device harmed patients with anything from IUDs, surgical mesh, dental implants, metal pins and rods. If you've broken a bone, sometimes they have to fix it. I know everyone's
I'm just sitting here like, so I'm just checking off all these boxes right now.
And people don't understand that this same symptoms that are caused by breast implants can be caused by these other devices as well.
Yes.
At the end of the day, it's a foreign body, and our body is going to experience a foreign body reaction. And what does that look like? It's different for every patient. For me, my friend Amanda Porta says breast implants were my kryptonite. They totally were.
Right.
For other people, they might be able to tolerate it a little bit better. Maybe they just have a screwed up thyroid and they're on thyroid medication for their Hashimoto's, and that's the only thing that happens to them with breast implants. Okay, that might be an acceptable risk for them. But, for me, the cancers are huge because I'm already a 3-time cancer survivor. I've been there, done that. I would have never signed up for something that I knew could give me additional cancers.
Right.
That's why I declined going on the hormone blockers that they wanted me to be on. They cause endometrial cancer, uterine cancer, all these female cancer, ovarian cancer. I already have, my cards stacked against me. So I didn't want to add to the mix.
And then you did, not knowing, but luckily you did find out.
Yes.
Once you start looking into this world of breast implant illness, there's so much information and it can be very overwhelming. I'm even finding that I don't know whether it's, coming to the surgery process of what I need to do after. There's a bit of conflicting things, or there's just so much information. So for people that are maybe just discovering this, where do you think they should start in informing themselves? What is there a specific resource? Is there a specific thing to look into?
Our GPAC Breast Implant Illness tab on our website is really informative, and there's just a lot of basics there. We even have a downloadable brochure that's what should you know about breast implants. It's just a little trifold brochure, and we encourage women to bring those to their doctors, like your general practitioner, your OBGYN, your endocrinologist, because a lot of people in the medical community still don't know about the dangers of breast implants. So, we just encourage people to get on there, get familiar with the symptoms, see if we have a checklist that you can, track your symptoms. And if you're having symptoms, start looking into it, start ruling other things out that it could be, but it really could be your breast implants. I would have never in a million years thought that an FDA approved medical device would take me down, but it did, you know?
So then I'm going to ask you this question. Do you think breast implants should be even available?
You know, I like to say that breast implants are like the new cigarettes, right? But everybody knows cigarettes cause cancer and they're still on the market and people still smoke cigarettes. If you asked me that question 5 years ago, I would say, let's let them be on the market. Let's make people make an educated and informed choice, knowing what the risks are. But you're asking me today, and my answer today is very different because I have worked with the plastic surgeon societies. I've had meetings with them. I've been on committees with them, patient safety committees. I've had meetings with the FDA about this. And the bottom line is they are not being responsible with this medical device. They're not informing patients. And if they can't be responsible with the tools that they have in their toolbox, they shouldn't be allowed to play with them.
That's fair. If it was as well known as the issues that you get with cigarettes, then that's another story, but it's
absolutely
not.
Yeah. And we have asked, I mean, our GPAC organization has had multiple meetings with the FDA and flat out asked them, can you please just send a healthcare provider letter to every specialty in medicine? Because think of an OBGYN whose population of patients is 100% women.
Right.
They should know this information and they don't. Endocrinologists. I mean, thyroid and endocrine dysfunction is one of the hugest symptoms of BII. And a lot of endocrinologists have no idea because the FDA has not done their due diligence to inform the medical community. We've asked them to do it. They won't do it. The plastic surgeon community still continues to hide it, dismiss it, tell us there's no scientific evidence. We don't know why women get sick from breast implants. So we're just going to say they don't. And it's gaslighting, it's medical abuse, and it needs to stop.
Have you personally experienced any pushback from implant companies? Like, have you come in contact with them? I don't know if this is anything you want to publicly say.
I'll say everything.
Okay, go ahead.
So one of the committees that I was on, I was actually on it for 17 months, and it was both plastic surgeon societies in the United States. All of the manufacturers and the FDA were on there. And I can honestly tell you that the manufacturers were very quiet on these calls and Zoom meetings. So as far as getting personal pushback from them, no. Okay. But of course they're quiet because they're untouchable.
Right.
They're untouchable because the very people on that same screen are protecting them. The FDA is allowing them to not be held accountable. The plastic surgeon societies are paid by them to put forth the studies and to be leaders in their industry and project whatever narrative industry wants. And they're doing it. So the manufacturers can just sit back and collect their billions of dollars because they know they're protected.
This is just like, it's a lot to handle. Like, it's so insane when you really start peeling this back. I get why people are like, I don't want to know about it. I'm just going to keep living my life with these things in me. I understand that. I really, really do. But once you get into it, it's like you start going down every rabbit hole, honestly. And something you posted that I never even thought about was men who have had testicular cancer or just get testicle implants, they're silicone as well, they experience the same symptoms as women. And I say this all the time, like, men aren't going to the doctor the way women go to the doctor because we know this. It's facts. They just don't. So I'm wondering how many men are ignoring these symptoms or not even going to the doctor, not even thinking about the fact that it could be their testicular implants. Like, I never thought of that until I saw your post.
Yeah. And I didn't realize it until, you start looking up the adverse events of these devices. And I was like, wow, there's tens of thousands of men that have testicular implants and they're experiencing the same problems, and talking about problems with medical devices, you can report a problem that you're having with a medical device to the FDA.
Yes.
And unfortunately, in 2019, at our FDA hearing, we found out that same week that the FDA was hiding over 446,000 reports of women who are harmed by breast implants.
What hiding? What do you mean? Like in a drawer?
They were allowing They were allowing the manufacturers to submit what's called alternative summary reports. And basically, so I told you earlier, I had headaches and migraines. If you had 100 women that reported they got implants and started having daily, weekly headaches and migraines, they could file 100 women's report under one report. And so if you went on the FDA website to look up, hey, I wonder how many people are having problems with breast implants, it would show virtually almost none, and maybe 5,000 women a year. That's not too bad considering 300,000 to 400,000 women a year get breast implants. Only 5,000 are having problems. But when the FDA whistleblower who found this out put forth the real numbers, it's more like 40,000 women a year are experiencing problems from breast implants.
What? Like, what are you? This is absolutely wild. I've watched, I think it's, oh my God, what is the documentary? Is it called Explant?
There's Explant, the documentary, and Bleeding Edge.
Bleeding Edge. And both of them, there's shocking information in there. And I feel like you're still dropping things that I'm like, what in the actual?
Yeah.
Teacher stays teaching. That's what's happening right now. I really feel like you are giving me a full lesson on all of this. Okay, well, that's frightening. I just like don't even know where to go next with this. So what can people do? Like you said, for each state that we live in, there's different things, whether there's have breast implants or not. What can people do that are listening to this right now being like, oh my God, how can I help?
Right. I mean, I believe at this point, everybody knows somebody that has breast implants,
Yes.
whether they got them for cosmetic reasons or breast cancer reconstruction. If you know somebody who's experiencing health complications, they can't figure out what's wrong with them. They're going from doctor to doctor. Autoimmune diseases are a huge, problem that we have. Women are getting diagnosed with lupus and fibromyalgia, connective tissue disease, multiple sclerosis. I mean, so many different, and some of these diseases, they didn't really have that disease because they take their implants out and they get better. If you really truly have multiple sclerosis, you don't fix it. It's a degenerative disease. But then these women are getting their implants out and they're like reverse aging 10 to 15 years and they don't have MS symptoms anymore. It seems like a miracle, but they never really had MS. My friend Michelle, who saved my life, she had the white spots on her brain. It was found in an MRI and they told her that she had the early onset multiple sclerosis. And after she removed her implant, she went back and got a follow-up MRI and the white spots were gone.
Stop.
Yeah. And that doesn't happen with MS. You can't, you'll get more white spots.
Right.
You might be able to stop them, but you can't revert them and have them go away. So I don't know what was on her brain, but she doesn't have it anymore and she feels great. And it's crazy. Like she lost 10 years of her kid's childhood because of her breast implants.
May 23rd cannot come fast enough right now. The more you're telling, I mean, and I don't want to scare anyone. I say this in a lot of my episodes. If you have breast implants right now, that doesn't mean you need to start panicking. Whether you feel great or not, now you have the information and you can start your journey, your process. None of this is meant to scare people. The information may be scary. We're not trying to scare people. We're trying to inform people. And I want to be very clear with that because yes, this is scary, but you have the information now that women years ago did not, and you're in a much better place and you can make your decisions better now.
Absolutely. And it shouldn't be, perceived any differently than if you're a cancer patient and you're going for chemotherapy.
Right.
They have to tell you what's going to happen, right? You're going to throw up. You're going to lose your hair. You're going to lose your eyelashes. You might lose your toenails. These are side effects of chemotherapy. Are they scary? Absolutely. But you have to know that going into it, right? And then the doctors can help you kind of counteract those symptoms that you're going through with chemotherapy. Same exact thing with breast implants. If you're having symptoms, start looking deeper into it. When do you feel the worst? Is it when you're outside exercising? Is it when you're eating certain things? Drinking alcohol is huge with BII patients. They're like, I can't handle alcohol. I used to be able to drink my husband under the table, so start looking at your lifestyle and what magnifies your symptoms. But at the end of the day, I can honestly say breast implants are not healthy for anybody.
No, that's not.
You look at the ingredients that they're made of, and they're made of, toxic chemicals, neurotoxins, heavy metals, lead, arsenic, mercury. I mean, these are all chemicals that they've been banned in other countries. They've been banned from lead paint, mercury fillings. We don't use
and then we're putting it in our bodies. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
So I'm going to put a lot of the links and things you've discussed in the description of this podcast. I'll also put them at themorningshowpodcast.com. That is the main podcast feed. So there will be links there as well. But how can people find you on Instagram right now if they're like, I got to go follow her immediately?
Yeah, I'm super easy. It's Robyn Towt, P-O-W-T, and I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And then you can click on our GPAC website, which is gpacunited.org. And we have tons of resources there. And always, you can shoot me a PM, you can shoot me an email, any questions people have, or if they want to learn more and they want to see the scientific studies and the evidence of these breast implant cancers and breast implant illnesses, we have it on our website, and I'm happy to send them, privately as well.
Well, Robyn, thank you. I literally cannot thank you enough. This has been so informative. I appreciate you and all the work you're doing. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So when I said this episode was going to be a doozy, that is what I meant. Holy amount of knowledge. I know it was a lot. Again, all of the links Robyn mentioned are in the description of this podcast, in this video, or at themorningshowpodcast.com. Thank you for being here week after week. If you have any questions you want me to get answered on this podcast, you can email hello@carlamarieandanthony.com. I'm so excited to talk to my doctor next week. And then after that, it's going to be an episode where I sit down with my boyfriend and business partner, Anthony, and we're going to talk about how each of us are feeling about this surgery. I'm really excited for that one. Thank you again for being here, Breastie. Peace out, boobs. Ta-ta for now. All the things.